If you got this part of the video, you've got the live unedited edition of Home Gadget Geeks. It is it's September. Let's see, what is it? It's September 12th, 2019. It's just about 8 p.m. in the Central Time Zone. If you're listening any other time than that, you're probably listening to the recorded version, and that's okay. Hang tight. We're gonna BS a little bit and talk about beer and some other things. Then we'll get on with the show. So if you came in off YouTube and you're kind of expecting like a, I don't know, 5-minute video. Well, okay. This is like 5 times, I don't know, 15 is what we're going to do. So hang tight, long play, lots of fun. Tony's out there in the chat room. Ken is out there as well. And we have a recorded show that we do as well. We record these and we put them out to the averageguy.tv. So if you want to get the shorter version, it's really not that much shorter, just to be honest. We just cut out the parts where we talk about beer. Mike, I'll have you show your beers here in just a second. We've gone Blue Moon Harvest Pumpkin Wheat. Have you tried this?
Oh, those are already out, huh?
Oh, man. Sarah picked some of these up the other day for Phil's birthday. And pretty great. I mean, like if you're into pumpkin spice, and who isn't this time of year, right?
It's true.
You wonder if they coordinate those releases, though, like the pumpkin spice coffee and the beer, same day.
Yeah.
It's like a holiday almost.
It's pretty great. Do they do that? But what happens in the Southern Hemisphere? Like, do they it's spring down there. They're like, I don't want pumpkins. Yuck. Yeah. So I don't know why pumpkins would be worse in the spring than they are in the fall, right? I mean, it's the same taste. But for whatever reason, Americans love pumpkin in the fall. It makes us feel like fall. Mike, you've got some great selections there as well on your side.
Two new ones here. So you guys know that I'm a huge fan of Cross Train Brewery. They're here, a brewery out of Omaha. So they have 2 new ones that they're putting out. This is it's called the Bernstein beer. It's a Vienna style lager. Really, really good. And then I've already had one of these, so it's not going to be a surprise that it's amazing. This is a German style Pilsner, also from Cross Train. This is their Portal Pils. So their Portal Pils German style Pilsner. Both really, really good. I talked to you guys last week about that Moo Moo from Cross Train, which is their milk stout, which we are all out of those, sadly, because those are really good too. We've just been cranking through some
Hannah
really
likes
good
those,
beer.
right?
Oh, she loves those. Really, both of us, anything Cross Train, we'll drink a ton of. So, and now that it's football season, I probably need to kick up my workout game because that means more beer.
Oh my God, dude. I've gained so much weight drinking beer. Ryan, do you have you beer fan at all?
I'm more of a rum and Coke kind of guy.
Nice. Okay.
Mixed drinks, but tonight just iced tea.
Nice. Well, good for you. Less calories.
Yep.
Great taste. Less
a little
filling.
sugar. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, that's not too bad. Mike, we need to instead of meeting all the way out of your house, we should meet at Cross Train and enjoy some of that on tap.
I think that's a great idea.
With a cigar too. You know what I'm saying? I think they'd let us. I think they'd let us do that outside on the patio.
I don't think they can.
Oh, well, we'll do it anyways.
Because they serve food, right? Isn't that?
No, I don't think they do. I think
they serve some food.
Do they? No,
Like
I think they bring.
pretzels
I think they have trucks that come in for that.
Oh, maybe that's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to see.
I'm gonna find out. But we could do it on tap. That'd be even better out there. So.
What do you guys use to monitor chat other than just the live comments?
Yeah, just the live. So if you go to the you'll see the live comments here.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a new feature. They just
I didn't know if that pulled in YouTube and everything.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
no way.
Yeah, the comments you're seeing, it pulls in just YouTube, and that's all we're at is YouTube. Okay. So
that's just brand new. Yeah, I had you can't participate though.
No, you can't.
Right.
So I have type, open it up go to the live page, grab that.
Out.
Yeah, pop it out.
Yeah, you can pop out the chat there, and then you can close it after that.
Ken, Tony, welcome. Good to see you guys. If you're out there watching live, there's 7 of you, and I only see 3 in chat. So let us know that you're hanging around, so we can recognize that you're here. Ryan's with us tonight, and we're pretty excited about it. We'll get started here in just a few minutes. Kind of give it a few minutes to post.
Thursday night football got delayed tonight, so they're in a big rain delay.
Storm?
Yep. It's a big storm rolled through Charlotte. It's Tampa Bay and Carolina, so we'll see. They got like the first 2 drives in, and then they had to go away. But it was funny.
Lightning, right?
So the weather had been there all day though. So the camera crews actually, according to the Fox safety standards, they couldn't get the cameras up. So they had 2 cameras for the first 2 drives. One was the wire cam, the one that goes across over top the field.
Yeah.
And they had one other one. Well, on 4th down on one of the drives, Cam Newton stretches out and they challenged the play because he thought he got it. And they had called that he didn't make it. And so it was going to be a turnover on downs because of 4th down. And they said possibly if they had all the cameras, they could have had a better review because all of us were like, it kind of looks like it, but they only had 2 cameras to look at for the review.
Interesting.
Yeah. Weather related incident, but not just a delay. It's affecting even the challenges.
Yeah, lightning's a funny thing. So you play football in any weather except thunderstorms.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, nah, I think it's time for everybody to go inside. We don't really want the liability of a lightning strike in the middle of guys holding big metal devices in the middle of a thunderstorm. Probably not the best idea in the world. Welcome, guys. Good to see you out there, Joe. Good to see you checking in. Joe's checking in. We'll get started here in just a moment. Mike, did you got the access to the notes, right?
Yes, I have them up.
Okay, perfect. Try and bring this over here. I did 4 webcasts in 24 hours at work this week. Ooh. Monday, yeah.
Your voice had to be gone.
Oh, I was toast. I was just tired. I started one at 11 p.m. It was like a marathon. 11 p.m. Monday night. That got over at midnight. I came home, slept for a few hours, went back in at 6, did one at 7, noon, and 7 p.m. And by 7 p.m., I was just done. I tried to sneak away and take a little nap at some point, but I was done. Oh, there's a Democratic debate tonight too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Home Gadget Geeks, Democratic debate, canceled football. I think you choose Home Gadget Geeks.
Yeah,
that's what you
can have the other one up on to the side. But
yeah.
Muted.
Just monitor Twitter.
Yeah.
I think football's going to be coming back here in a few minutes. We'll see.
Okay. Well, let's do this thing. Let me bring this up here. Get this thing done tonight. Ryan, thanks again for coming on. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 416, recorded on September 12th, 2019. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios. And Mike, I swear to God, we have 1 week of fall left. I keep saying this every single week. I was looking at the long term, hot through next week, but then I think fall weather's coming. What do you think?
You mean 1 week of summer left?
Oh,
right?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. Before we get to fall. Yeah,
yes,
I agree. And we've had that humidity too. So even though it hasn't been too crazy hot, that humidity sticks around. It just makes it feel muggy.
Yeah, tonight it's great. We'd pulling an Edward Weininger in podcasting from our deck. Ryan, do you have a deck that you could move out to if we needed to go outside? And you're not.
Yeah.
Weather's got to be pretty good for you tonight too, right? You're in the same kind of area we are.
Yeah, a few hours away, but we had a rainy day today, which was really nice. I don't even think it broke maybe 81 or 82. I was inside all day, so I didn't get to experience it. But yep, just kind of rainy, overcast.
And you're down in Wichita, right? So
Correct.
Just almost directly south of us.
Yep.
Here, little
southwest. Yep.
I think, or so. A little flatter. We're a little bit. Nebraska's a little more like this, and Kansas, you can watch your dog run away for 2 weeks.
As flat as you can go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty flat. Well, Ryan, welcome. Before I go on the rest, welcome. We're glad you're here with us tonight.
Glad to be here.
I'll remind everyone, of course, you can get show notes, and all of Ryan's contact information is available in the show notes tonight, so you might want to pop out to him. TheAverageGuy.tv/HGG416 will get you that as well. Don't forget, you can also download our mobile app, HomeGadgetGeeks.com. Just changed the theme on that. I realized I changed the theme on the website, never changed that one. So we got out there after Christian's bang up job of getting all that stuff changed over, updated the theme, and that now looks like it belongs there. You can get that HomeGadgetGeeks.com. Don't forget, we appreciate our Patreon subscribers, supporters. You guys, you know who you are, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon if you want to join us over there, and we appreciate that. Got a letter to read here in a second. We also can take donations through PayPal. I never really pimp that very much, but it works. And every once in a while, somebody wants to help support the network, and you can ship that through PayPal as well. And any of the email addresses, Jim@theaverageguy.tv, is probably the easiest one to do. We'll get that there as well. And Richard sent that in. We'll thank him here in just a second for that. But you can get all that information over at theaverageguy.tv. Don't forget, join us on Discord, theaverageguy.tv/Discord, on Facebook, theaverageguy.tv/Facebook, and we'll be reading a little bit from that today as well. Ryan Kirshner, I mentioned his name, and we talked just a second ago with him. He is joining us tonight. And Ryan, let me just do it again. Welcome to the program.
Thanks. Glad to be here. Long time. It's kind of like the Jim Rome, long time listener, first time caller. That's kind of the experience right now.
No, and Mike and I got a chance to actually meet you a couple weeks ago. You were in the Omaha area, and we kind of got together and had pizza at Pizza West.
Great pizza.
Yeah, if you're in Omaha, that's the best way to go. Mike, I was a little surprised my pizza and your pizza even made it out of the place, just to be honest.
Yeah, we went with the model of, hey, get a large, have stuff to take home. And I said, Jim, don't be surprised if I end up eating it all. But we were good. We held ourselves back a little bit, and we did take it home to the wives.
Ryan, you came hanging out with the family. How'd that work out? We certainly enjoyed meeting your children, and they were great while we had lunch together. But how'd the rest of the trip go?
No, it was good. That was kind of the end of our trip. We had a wedding on Friday, hung out with some family on Saturday, then headed over to you guys over in Omaha Sunday afternoon for some lunch. Ended up driving back west to where we had been because Google was telling me that was the quickest way home. So after lunch, ended up where I started in the morning and then drove back home. So other than that, it was a great trip.
Sorry that you had to backtrack on that.
That's all right.
Not the most, the deal, living in the Midwest, not the most scenic route between Lincoln and Omaha, but I guess it's okay. It was great to see you. If you guys are ever in the Omaha area and you're listening, Mike and I were available for random lunches. Just give us a call. We'll figure out. It was actually perfect timing. I think it was a Sunday. Was it a Sunday
lunch?
Yeah. Sunday lunch. Pizza West was not that crowded, and we got pretty good service, and we got it done. Let us know. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, and we will try to sneak it in on lunch. Before we really dig in with Ryan's stuff, I did get an email from Richard. I had mentioned the Patreon supporter. He is the one who sent me an email and a little bit of a donation, not a little bit, but a nice donation from Richard. Thank you. He had sent us an email, and I thought it was interesting because it fits our conversation so well and all the things we do. And I like to read these emails because it's I love it when you guys send me email, and I get about one a week or so. But so he's working through the letter. He said first, and then there was a whole bunch of stuff that I'm not going to read. Second, he says, a few weeks ago, Mike talked about smokers and barbecues being raised on a large farm and ranch in the Texas Panhandle. We tend to know a few things about smoking meat. Please pass this on to Mike, as both of you should know about Robert and Vicki Meyer's company called R&V Works. Mike, have you ever heard of them?
I have not, no.
Yeah, you should be able to see some of their products basically, I think, at a Bass Pro Shop. And we got one of those over in Council Bluffs. They're best known for their Cajun fryer, but also make their outstanding outdoor they also make outstanding outdoor cooking equipment. If you go to CajunFryer.com, including a Cajun, what's called a Cajun Express smoker, check out their smokers, as I think it exceeds your requirements at the $1,200 level, not the $6,000. Did you talk about a $6,000 smoker? Did I miss that, or when did we talk about that?
Well, I know we talked about there are those that get up into that price range. No, but none of the ones that we would use are in that range.
Yeah, well, 1,200 is in that Traeger line, right?
Exactly.
If you're doing it. Ryan, are you into grill, barbecue, smoking? You do any of that?
I'm just a gas grill guy right now. Haven't made the switch over to smoking or anything.
Yeah, and
we got a chimenea though for Mother's Day, so I know there's some options there. We may give that a shot with this cooler weather coming in.
Yeah, and I'm figuring out how to do some pretty good smoking just off my regular grill, and so that part that's working pretty well. I was watching Steven Reichland, and they have this drum smoker. It's like a 55-gallon drum that's outfitted with all that, and that's supposed to be a really good way to smoke too. Maybe $300 for that thing new. And, so maybe an easier way to get in. Ryan continues. No, I'm sorry. Richard continues. I own a custom fryer that the Roberts team built for me, and use a charcoal/wood smoker/cooker that was made by Mike Tiernan's company in Amarillo, called Son of a Brisket. I like that. This is a good one. Lastly, he says, I make my living outside of the technology space, but I've been a nerd before birth, as my kids tell the story. Over 30 years ago, I was using X10 to control switches and plugs with the controller. Today, it's much easier and far more reliable with Insteon Z-Wave, Wi-Fi enabled, and the ISY994 controller. In our home and weekend place, there's not a switch or outlet that doesn't have an IP address of some type. That is super nerdy. Started my home networking journey years ago with an HP MicroSmart server. Actually, that's the one I decommissioned this week, Mike. Not HP Smart. I had the micro server, the HP micro server N40L that I've had forever. Ryan, you've heard us probably talking about that product forever. I just took that one down. He started with that. And today runs a racked Lenovo dual CPU 2012 server R2 edge router, PoE switch cameras, 2 Unify AC HD access ports down and upstairs with cat in most rooms of the house. Bought my first Sonos player in 2005 and have 14 players. Oh my God.
Wow. You have some serious home theater action with 14 speakers.
I did not read that in advance. That is pretty impressive. 14 players today between our 2 homes. Okay. All running either on cat or on my Wi-Fi. Oh, and I should not forget Alexa. The lady who we shouldn't mention her name. She gives me voice control over the ISY controller and Sonos with units sprinkled in and outside the house. Simply brilliant. All desk laptop data is stored on the server or on OneDrive, backed up internally to USB drives and Crash Plan Pro. Wow, somebody's still staying on the Crash Plan. I thought most of us ditched Crash Plan when they stopped doing what they were doing. Some moved to Pro, but Richard, thanks for doing that. The $120 a year for Crash Plan for me is a bargain. Richard, thank you for your email. Appreciate that. But good to hear. I love those kinds of outfitting stories, Mike. Yeah. I know you like that as well. Kind of just hearing what people are doing.
Those are my favorite. I love setup videos on YouTube, desk setups, all that kind of stuff, and just hearing how people configure their home. Mainly because like when you're the tech guy, people come to you for questions, and usually you kind of get stuck in your own routine of what you do. When you start to hear what other people do, you kind of get, okay, hey, no, you have this setup. I heard of a guy who has 14 Sonos speakers. Maybe that'll work out well for you. It gives you different ideas of what you could do.
Maybe that'll work out okay for
you. Well, my
you.
boss is like on the way to that. He's like this huge, because I set his house up and now he's big into Sonos and he wants to Sonos everything. And now we found another person who went that route too.
All right. It's doable. Ryan, I didn't tell you we're going to do this, but since I'm talking about it, give us a quick rundown of kind of your nerdery setup there at the house.
Oh man, let's see here. Multiple desktop PCs, we'll kind of get into the hardware reviews and stuff that I do. Yeah. So that's kind of outfitted some of those. Let's see here. Ubiquiti for wireless, pfSense router, Synology, Asus Store, Thecus, NAS's, little virtualization in there. Plex.
How much total storage do you think you have? Now we're comparing
60 to 70 terabytes.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Now, okay. For the average person, not necessary, but what are you keeping on all that? Do you have it just to have it, or are you actually using
a little bit of both? Yeah. Okay. So, family documents all backed up. The Plex environment, storage sits out there. And then I replicate between those devices here and the cloud. So just multiple, backup routines. It's about 10% full on the Synology, which has 40 terabytes usable. So
nice. So you got that stacked out.
Yeah, I just I was
410 terabytes.
No, 6 8s in that unit. And
shucked, or did you buy?
I'm a shucker.
Okay,
right. I'm always looking for those, and the 10s are getting cheaper, and it's outfitted with 8s, and it's tiding me over. I don't need the 10s, so I'm just ignoring it when I see that they're on sale.
With the Synology, do you have to do the whole pin thing where you put the tape over the pin or remove the pin?
I have not yet. Nope.
Okay. Yeah, because I think on some of the NASs you don't really have to. And on some you do. It just depends on the backplane, things like that.
Yeah, a lot of the current stuff just doesn't require you to do that 3.3 volt mod, but it's pretty easy to do anyways.
Right.
Limited or unlimited internet where you're at?
So I have a terabyte cap. We're on Cox here. Yep. So I have the 300 meg plan. I just can't justify the gig right now with it being so limited on the upload. Yeah. 30 megs up. Nah.
I agree.
That's
I'm fine
waiting
with
for
300.
AT&T needs to come in. Their rumor is they're coming to Omaha, and especially coming to my area with the synchronous fiber, gig up, gig down. But yeah, you're right. Why would you pay for that? Like, really, the down. Like, do you really need more than 300 down? Things go pretty fast, and usually most of your downloads are going to be limited anyway, and won't even go up to the full gig. You know,
I see the down pegged, like when I'm downloading from Steam or something.
okay.
But that's, maybe 100 gigs for a really large game, and then I'm done with it. And
Right.
I don't even touch the 300 most of the time.
Joe says he's still ripping his content and making do with 8 terabytes. How can you live with 8 terabytes? 96 is what I'm up to here. 97 now. And so, but now most of it's burst mining, right? I have it most packed. I just did some reconfiguration down here where I took the Media Smart server, it's not really that anymore, but the micro server down, it had 4 drives in it. 2 went back in the Drobo, swapped out some smaller drives, put them off to the side, kind of started, all right, how am I going to set my syncs up now? Where's this going to go? Do I really need it replicating twice? Because that's what I had it doing. I had my data replicating twice internally here, like on the Drobo and on the HP Smart or on the HP server. Yep. So you really got to start kind of questioning some of that stuff after all. Ryan, do you ever find yourself like, do I really get, do you find those times like when stuff starts going wrong and you have these cascading problems, like one thing breaks another, or you find a process you set up like 4 years ago that you totally forgot about and you've never used it, right? And you're like, do I really need that? Do you find yourself doing that?
Yeah, I have 3 NASs running right now. I had a 4th, and it was my oldest, and it's probably close to 10 years old. And it was a RAID 5 with 3 Western Digital Blues, and they were 500 gigs each on those. So I had about a terabyte of space, and I had gotten everything migrated off of it, or at least copied. And it was just extra copies of the data. And I finally was just, it doesn't need to be on. Just turn it off.
Well, I find that even with, on Plex, I'm just a record it all kind of guy, right? I got the antenna on there. Why not let that thing just record as much as any show? Because I might want to go back and watch it.
Wow.
You forget how those series, TV shows add up, right? I mean, that's a lot of space every single week. So I finally went through and cleared out a bunch of shows that I'm never going to watch. I just had Plex record and it was like terabytes of space that I had on there because I've just been recording for, past whenever that feature came out a year or 2 ago. And most of it wasn't even watched. And I was recording like Husker football games and things, I might want to go back and watch that at some point. No, I never have. So, but man, you guys are making me get on Amazon now and look at drives. I'm the low end here. I've only got 22 terabytes in my unraid box. Maybe I need some more space.
Get those easy stores from Best Buy when they're on sale. And
they had some really good 10 terabyte deals going on.
They did.
Yeah, but so I'll need to update my parity drive though. So that's like I consider that almost like a waste of buying a drive. That's 150 just to get your parity up, but then you can start adding whatever you want. So we'll see.
Well, it's funny you say just 22 terabytes, Mike. There would have been a day back in the home server show days that 22 would have been gigantic. Like, why? What do you need 22 for? Ryan, most of us we know Uyghur gets a new hobby about every 2 or 3 weeks. But any hobbies, tech hobbies that are keeping you busy besides the work stuff? And you do anything outside tech-wise?
Not super tech related. I mean, I have, some of the smart home automation types of deals, lighting, thermostat, sprinklers, nothing too advanced, some Amazon and Google devices throughout the house. Past that, I am kind of a serial hobbyist though. I never dropped into drones, but trading cards, 80s and 90s toys and memorabilia, remote control cars.
Yeah, all behind you. Why don't you? Yeah. I'm going to make you. Are you okay showing? Are you okay showing that again? Let me make you full screen and just take your camera over there like you did for us before and show. You might want to, if you're listening to the audio, you're going to have to come to the video for this part. But to take us over there, Ryan, just give us a
full collection. Look at that.
Nice. Yeah, so there's some Ninja Turtles and most of my stuff. I'll get some complaints because everything's still packaged and on the card, but. 80s and 90s, just toys, pop
just
culture.
Collectibles. That's collectibles for you,
or for me? And my kids always complain and ask why I don't open them.
Do you think you'll sell them someday, or what's?
No, not right now.
Okay.
I'm not in it for the investment. Just to have it.
Just good to keep around. Do me a favor, bring your camera down a little
Yep.
bit for me too. Let's get your head a little
Absolutely.
bit. Yeah, it's funny, those things we kind of collect. Mike, you have any memorabilia kind of stuff like that you collect, or is everything kind of current? You sell stuff super fast.
I do. Yeah, I really
That's
do.
my-
I mean, I'm a buy and sell, and
Yeah.
even old tech hardware. If I'm not using it, I'm getting rid of it. If it's something I can't see a future use for, I'm gonna get rid of it because I am such a serial hobbyist. I need something to fund the next hobby. So usually it's sell the stuff from the old hobby. You know, it's like I quit ham radio last week. So I sold all that stuff, and no, I didn't. I'm joking. Still very into ham radio, but that's what I will do when I get out of it is sell that to get into the next hobby.
You did that well, my friend.
Yeah.
I was for a second. I'm like, oh my god, he really did.
He really did it. Yeah.
that was-
No, very much still into ham radio every single day.
That's super great. Yeah. Well, it is interesting, the different approaches. You know, Ryan, you're kind of a buy, keep.
Yep.
You know, memorabilia. I don't, and Mike is kind of keep and sell. I don't do really either. I just got a bunch of junk, like, you know, and I'm trying to weed some of that out as well. But we kind of all have our things that kind of keep us, those hobbies. I've got a boatload of stamps down here that are my dad's. Nobody's buying stamps right now, and so I'm kind of holding them, thinking, well, maybe stamps will come back around at some point, and that we can unload those. That was his collection. Nobody in the family really wants to do stamps. And again, like right now, there's nothing out there. It's pretty quiet. There's a few hobbyists, but it is one of those things. Maybe I'm hoping we'll come back around. We'll be able to kind of move that stuff.
It's like Saya coin, right?
Yeah.
It'll come back, right?
I mean,
I hope so. Anyway. Oh my God, that's too funny. Ryan, let's get to know you a little bit. You're certainly your writing. The reason we kind of have you on is because you write for thinkcomputers.org. Tell us a little bit about what that is. And there's a lot of reviews out there. I mean, I think that's a pretty good site for this audience, right? You guys are writing for a lot of the stuff that you probably hear here. Now, tonight we're going to probably get a little nerdy on some hardware. We wouldn't get typically that nerdy, but we're going to have you on because we're having you on. We're going to do that. But tell me a little bit about thinkcomputers.org and why you guys do what you do.
Sure. So Think Computers, it's almost very similar to the podcast, right? News, reviews, product updates, right? Your intro kind of gives exactly what we do on the website. So we cover industry news, mostly related to PC enthusiasts, gaming hardware, that aspect of things, building your own computers, not so much off the shelf, but components, reviews, hardware, motherboards, video cards, cases. I focus mostly on peripherals and gaming devices. So I take a look at a lot of cases, headsets, microphones, keyboards, mice. And then Bob, the site owner, he does most of our motherboard, CPU, graphics card, memory kits, storage. I do a little bit of network storage review as well. And then Derek does a lot of our cooling, water cooling, air cooling, liquid cooling types of stuff. So usually 2 to 3 hardware reviews go out a week. Bob takes care of most of those. It's not my full-time job or anything. I do it for fun, to keep up to date on hardware. So I'm a little slower on releasing content. But just really kind of a hobby. We've got, we put out YouTube videos, things like BIOS reviews. So Bob will get a new motherboard in. He'll do his written review, maybe a video about it, and then go through the BIOS page by page, setting by setting, just showing it off. And those are actually really popular content. And, lots of social media interaction, things like that. So just a overall PC tech enthusiast website and organization.
Yeah, it matches what we do here pretty well. You guys have a podcast as well, Think Computers Podcast. Are you on that? And how's that work?
Every now and then, it's usually our site owner, Bob and Derek. They do a weekly podcast that goes over kind of the week's news, some of the news stories that we've written about, the reviews that are published that week, next week's reviews. And I'm on there every now and then. Usually I will record content separately and then submit that to Bob, and he'll kind of mix that in there. Every now and then I'm on the live, though.
No, this is not your full-time job, right? You do something else?
Yeah, I work in IT in the financial industry.
Nice.
Been in that.
Is
in
that coding?
sector.
Are you
No,
coding?
no,
Okay.
absolutely not. I couldn't code myself out of a wet paper bag. I like to say, like, I can look at some code and maybe figure out what it is, but if I have to write it, no, you're maybe a batch file every now and then. No, more of customer support, desktop support management.
Yeah, no, I think it fits. It fits this what we do. I think if you like this show, you'll probably like it. Head out to thinkcomputers.org. Subscribe to the podcast as well. I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm sure it is great. Ryan, we want to spend a little time talking about some of the posts you've done. I'll include these in the show notes as well. But one of the and man, this is an area that all of a sudden in the last couple years seems to have gotten pretty crazy, and this is the area of cases. Like, cases have always been cool. And I'm not just saying like all of a sudden in the last 3 months, we're seeing all these cool cases. But man, there are a lot. And are you finding in the space, you review these quite a bit, are you finding that the space has kind of exploded with new cases? I mean, is that you're gonna show us one here, but just
Sure.
seems like recently, there's been a big explosion of cases. Would I be correct in that?
Yeah, I think so. You still have a lot of your players that have been in the game for a long time, your Cooler Masters, your Corsairs, and you're absolutely right. And the reason there seems to be a resurgence of PC builders and gamers. Every now and then it kind of feels like the ebb and flow of consoles are a little more popular, and then PCs will come back in, and then consoles will come back again. Kind of really, to me, it feels like when a new console is released, everybody swings back over to that side of things. But the enthusiast industry for cases and components and everything has really always been there. But I think you're seeing a lot more of them now. You're seeing a lot flashier builds now that everything's got RGB and tempered glass and controllable lighting, all those types of things. You're just kind of, I think, noticing it more. Back when I first started doing reviews and builds in the early 2000s, I bought a Dremel and cut a hole in the side of my case and found a piece of plexiglass and, stuck it to the inside of the case. So I had a window before windows were really a thing, and modifying EL wire for car components. You used to run EL wire inside of cars that would run off a 12 volt to light up. Well, I modified that to put it in a case, and used to have cold cathode tubes where now it's micro LEDs and things like that. But you're absolutely right that the case market is really blowing up with all sorts of cool innovations.
Are the cases innovating on the insides as much as they are as far as lighting goes? Because I know, Andrew in the chat room says, "Is it bad that I don't want RGB?"
Nope.
And no, totally not. Are there other innovations going on inside the cases just besides the lighting?
Cooling is a big one, being more efficient with it. Tempered glass, when it first came out, I think a lot of case designers and vendors weren't necessarily thinking about some of the repercussions of tempered glass. You'd see a lot of glass up front to show off maybe the fans that were behind them, but then there was no separation or very little separation between the fan and the glass. So you were starving the case for air intake. We've kind of gotten past that. Internally, your cable management, making room for components, hiding certain things, and knowing that some components look better with a window than others. So finding ways to highlight those different orientations, things of that nature. But no, you're not wrong or bad for not wanting RGB, right? It's a personal preference, as much or little as lighting as you want.
But with the cases that have like exploded, I've always wondered. So I've built mining rigs. So as far as like building a computer, I took old cases or even a new case, but a really cheap case. When I was looking at cases, I was like, dang, you can price range from you can get a cheap $15, $20 case, and you can spend $100 on a case.
Yeah.
What makes a good case a good case? Just in general, before we start getting into the reviews, what are you looking at? What categories are you kind of rating these things on?
So types of materials, a lot of your cheaper cases are going to be a thinner steel build, which is fun. Steel cases are great, especially if you're just getting into the hobby and don't want to spend a ton of money. But they're just not as high end. You'll get some flexibility. They don't dampen noise very much. Things like sharp edges in some cheaper cases, they just don't spend the time to round edges or paint things thoroughly. They don't use primer on the case sometimes. So when you're putting a screw in or taking it out, it'll actually chip the paint off. One of the cases I looked at is 4 millimeter thick aluminum all the way around it, essentially. So that's a high end material that's bent and shaped and formed nicely.
Because I noticed like on the cheap one I got, like even like
Mhm.
I was surprised the PCI expansion slots were like you broke it off instead of like being able to unscrew it, take the blocker out,
Yep.
right? They're like, so yeah, I think you're right. And then the sharpness, those are the two things I noticed, but I've never had a higher end PC, so I didn't know
Mhm.
what kind of things you're looking at when you get into those cases on what you're spending your money on. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you'll find extra, thought put into how cables are run to keep things clean and improve airflow. You've got you have your power cables and your SATA and your front I/O headers and things like that plug into the motherboard. Well, they all have to run somewhere, and sure, you can leave them jumbled up inside of there. And if you've got a side panel on a case that doesn't have a window, it's really not that big of a deal. It might cut down on some of your airflow and make things harder to work on if you need to. But just including options for making things look clean and tidy are a nice addition as well. Ease of use, ease of installation.
Yeah,
Really does wonders.
It's almost a tool in itself. With some of the way I've watched some builds on YouTube, folks going through actually showing the build, putting it together, the things they do. In some of the more expensive cases, it's been interesting to see the care that goes into the build itself. I mean, I'm just kind of used to, you get the motherboard out, just start jamming things in it, turn it on, make sure it's working. Okay, set the board in, start putting stuff in. And I've watched these guys put gloves on and be really careful. Now, with the water cooling, you got to be really, really careful on cleaning up some of those things and making sure, right? I mean, just as far as getting all that stuff done. But it is really on some of these really nice cases, I've watched a lot of care going into making sure that things don't get scratched or you don't get stuff on the glass so that it continues to look really, really nice. Now at my house, I let that thing run for 2 weeks. It's got dust all over it, right? So, you're like, oh, I'm constantly dusting. In your review, and I put the link in the chat room as well, it'll be available in the show notes. You look at a Silverstone LDO3 case review. When you're thinking about reviewing a case, you've done this for a long time. Do you have a process that you go through when you review these?
It's kind of similar for cases. Obviously we take a look at the packaging with all the glass that is shipping with cases. We want to make sure that it's got adequate cardboard and foam protection around it, just so that it makes it to you safely. The worst thing would be to order a case. It shows up, you open it up, and you have 1,000 pieces of broken tempered glass inside the box, right? So that's one of the things we like to take a look at. Make sure that it's secured properly, makes it to you in one piece or not broken up. And then we just kind of take a look at the outside from each panel of the case. Take a look at the front, the sides, the top, the rear. Is there ventilation on top, or is it just out the back? How are the fans oriented? Is there a filter on the bottom for the power supply to take air in? Okay, so you've got the review pulled up there, and right now you're showing kind of the exterior of that Silverstone LDO3.
Let me move up to the top here. That's kind of a look from the beginning. So this is page 2. Before you keep talking about this, you've opted to go on your reviews of maybe multiple pages for the review instead of one long, kind of review. Any editorial reasons for doing it that way?
Not that I'm aware of. Maybe page views, possibly. Okay. Yeah. And I do think it breaks it up a little bit. You don't get lost between the sections. I do try to break it up into kind of an introduction with some specifications and the packaging and accessories that are included. Then we kind of do an exterior overview on the next page, an interior overview on the third page, installation on fourth, and then some kind of final thoughts and everything.
Yeah. So just to go back, here's the spec. So this is what I really liked is how thorough you go. So specifications on it. Here's what the box is going to look like. That looks a little beat up, actually. And then bringing in the box, page 2, we go back to, okay, so there's the case sitting out. Do you have an area at your house that you use to shoot photography for these?
It's actually in this room. It's right to my right. I have kind of a identical desk set up, just a white hard table with some gray background. I have some lighting boxes and overhead lighting that I use for it. It needs some work, and I think I need a different background for it to just spice things up, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Oh, right on. So a look at the case, kind of a walk around on this. How did you like, a little spoiler alert, how did you like this case when you got done, by the time you got done? Something you liked, or were there some issues with it?
Overall, I liked it quite a bit. When I knew it was, I got the shipping information that, hey, this is going out to you for review. I was really excited because it's kind of a unique design. It doesn't look like your standard case. It's got 3 tempered glass side panels. In the end, I was pretty happy with it. There were some frustrations that I found, but overall, it was a pretty nice design. Right there, that middle image there, that's actually the bottom of the case, which shows the intake fan towards the top right. But that rectangular cutout on the left is actually to allow for extended length graphics cards to actually extend outside of the body of the case just a little bit and down below. So when it's actually tipped up, you wouldn't see it because the front of the case is covering that. But it just allows, for a larger video card to fit inside of a micro or a mini ITX case, which is kind of a neat design.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
this top is kind of a unique design as well. This kind of grill.
Right. So you have a flipped motherboard design here where the motherboard's at the back of the case and all of your connectivity is at the top. And so to kind of protect that and hide that, Silverstone designed that removable plastic top. It's got a couple tabs there that you can push in and take that whole top off and gain access to your USB and your network and the power connection up there. And it's really kind of a neat design.
Let's continue to kind of scroll through the review here. I'm assuming, what are we looking at here?
So there it is with the top of the case from the backside with that plastic cover removed. So you have your rectangular hole there for your motherboard IO shield, which there's never anything worse than putting together your build and realizing you forgot to put that IO shield on the back. It's like the thing of nightmares. Anyhow, then we have the single 120 millimeter exhaust fan to kind of bring air from the bottom of the case up and out through the top of that ventilated section. And then you have your 2 slots for, your video card or whatever component you choose to fill up those slots with.
Yeah. For these reviews, are you guys purchasing this equipment and reviewing it, or do you have are the manufacturers sending them to you?
Manufacturers typically reach out to our site owner and say, hey, here's something we're getting ready to release or have released. Are you interested in taking taking that on and reviewing that for us?
How long does it take you from kind of beginning to end to get through a typical review?
I take a little longer, just like I said, it's not my primary job or anything. Usually I allow for about 2 weeks. By the time a product comes in, you get it kind of unboxed, get all your pictures taken, edit the pictures, look at what you've actually got. Do I need to reshoot anything before I actually start building in it? Mm-hmm. Because if I get all the way through my review and realize I don't have a picture that I thought I did, and now all my components are there and I can't really see that picture that I wanted with it empty, I've got to go tear everything out and take pictures again. Yeah,
it takes just a whole bunch of time to get that done. You do take a lot of pictures. How many do you think you take that you don't use?
For the other case review that I released just today, I was telling my wife I took 300 and some pictures of the case, and I pared it down to 64. So it's a little bit of,
but that's the best part when I'm looking at a review, especially of a case or something like this. What I'm trying to do is plan out my build, and seeing it from every single angle really helps out. There's nothing more frustrating, especially like when you watch a YouTube video or something and you're waiting for them to kind of show this one piece and they never do. Right.
Exactly.
So if you're really captured from all angles, because the people who are reading this are probably looking at it from an angle of, I want to build with this. Will my build fit, or will it work for what I want to do? So, I mean, I think that's probably really important. I like that you actually go on the high side of photos rather than the low side.
Yeah. And this, you guys kind of mentioned this is probably a good time to, if you're just an audio listener, take a look at the video, because we're showing, scrolling through and showing some images. Right now, you're taking a look at our installation steps, right? So most of the time I start installing the power supply. I typically always try and use a modular power supply so that the cables aren't there and in the way. I can get that mounted in there and then only install the cables that I need when I need them. So it looks like you've got us at the part where we have the motherboard and cooler installed there, and then just kind of working through adding some storage.
Is that the heatsink?
That is a Silverstone heatsink. It's one of their low profile units. And
that's low profile.
it is. I don't remember the exact height, but it is considered a low profile cooler.
Yeah. It looks
You've
like
got to remember that that's
Gemini.
That's a mini ITX motherboard. So it is actually pretty decently small.
Yeah.
Cooler.
Yeah. Mike, you were going to say something?
No, it actually reminds me of the cooler I have, the Cooler Master Gemini series. It's kind of that same sort of design. I really like that design, that lower profile. It fits great in like a server chassis too, for those kind of shorter, you're trying to fit it in there. That's what I use for my Unraid box.
Ryan, do they also send you and dictate what the hardware that's going to go in, or is that something you have to have?
It really kind of depends. In this build, for example, I didn't have a small form factor power supply, so they actually sent that unit as well to use in the build. And so typically I'll use components that I've received, from other companies, and we'll just utilize those components every now and then. But if there's something I really want, I'm just going to go purchase it and use it in my build.
Yeah. Nice. And so a dual Samsung 840s maybe on these?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Some older drives there. So, room for a couple 2.5 inch or 3.5 inch drive there. And that panel there is removable. So you can mount them to that and then mount the panel inside, which is kind of nice. Also, previously you showed the power supply connected to it out of the unit, but with the bracket on there. This case requires you to mount a bracket on the back of the power supply and then mount it inside of the case.
Up there. There we go. So bracket first, right? So here's the bracket.
Yep.
Right. And then attach it and then
install it. Correct.
Bring it in. Are the instructions pretty good? Do they provide pretty good documentation on the expectations of how to put these together?
Yeah, and the case comes assembled. They will give you kind of a step-by-step of their recommendation on component installation, and it really depends between manufacturers. Some are great, some end up like IKEA instructions, some are non-existent. A lot of folks are now, and I really like this, sending a QR code on kind of a card and giving you a digital download copy. Just kind of saves on paper waste and things like that.
Yeah. Do you kind of decide how you're going to lay this out kind of in advance from a pitch? So in other words, do you storyboard this review before you do it all to make sure you have all the components, or do you just kind of do it? You've done these enough that you can just do it.
I kind of do it as I go. On this one, I did have to think about it because before I received the case, I was thinking about my component layout, what I actually wanted to utilize in this case. And I came to the realization that there's no real good cable management in this case. I mean, you have three open sides. There's no channel for running cables. So I came up with some pretty creative ways to route my SATA and my power and everything, and actually hid a lot of it behind that heatsink there. So where there was that gap between where the CPU is and the fins of the cooler, there's actually a lot of cabling in there. I think I have a couple images where it shows everything that I routed in there.
It looks like you said, this is a very interesting layout for a case, but it seems like they do a pretty decent job of fitting a lot into a very tiny space. Like just the way it's laid out, I've never seen one kind of laid out like this, but the way that, certain things vertical, certain things straight up, it seems like when you close this thing up, there's probably not a lot of space in there left.
There's actually a surprising amount right above that 120 millimeter fan.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I think you could really do a really neat liquid cooling build in here. I haven't taken the leap yet to do it on this one. I think there's some really cool designs you could come up with in this case. But yeah, for the most part, it's a pretty tight build.
Yeah.
Let's here we'll move. We got to the end of the page. So I thought we were at the bottom. All right. So then I'm assuming all together.
Yes. And the lighting there. So if you scroll up just a little bit, the tempered glass panels are actually tinted quite a bit. So you can barely see into this case. And a lot of times if you're getting a case with tempered glass, it's because you want to show off your components and show off your build. And the best way to do that right now is with some RGB lighting, whether it's fans, light strips, or whatever. So I found a great deal on a Corsair lighting kit and controller. So I threw those into the case, and I think it really, improves the look of the case.
Corsair really seems to be doing, or are they the leader in lighting, at least at this point? It seems like they seem to show up in most of the reviews.
Yeah, Corsair right now has some pretty good lighting products. For a long time, it was NZXT because they were some of the first with their nice lighting strips and controllers and ability to do things. But a lot of your motherboards come with the controlling software built in or available for them. So it really just kind of depends. You're right. Corsair is one
Yeah,
of
it
the
just
leaders
seems
there.
like I see them showing up quite a bit.
Yep.
At the end of their review, a 9 out of 10. How does this with a lot of the? Do they all get 9 out of 10, or do you find some?
No.
I mean, what's a low score?
There's some stinkers, right? But it honestly takes quite a bit actually to become a stinker, because for the most part, as if it's holding your components, it's not shorting things out. You're not, coming up with razor blade edges inside of there. It's not falling apart. You've got a pretty decent product. A 10 I've never given. I just haven't come across that perfect case. For this one, I think it looks great. The couple issues, no integrated cable management or good options there, so that kind of dinged it. It does come with a premium price. I think it's $159, $160 there, which for a case of that size, you might think is a little bit up there, but you are kind of in a niche market where everything's smaller, so they actually charge a premium for that smaller size.
One of my favorite cases, just as I think showing you guys this Cooler Master HAFXB box. I've done a couple of these, and I think there were some folks in the chat room saying, I don't need glass, I don't need any of this. Yeah, okay. This is the one I don't know. This style of box is something I've really liked. You can get some, there's some areas to throw drives in that are pretty easy to swap in and out. A lot of space, a lot of room, handles if you need to take it with you. So this is kind of what I like. Have you seen this case? Have you reviewed it at all?
I have seen it. I have not reviewed it. I do believe it's kind of a multi-chamber design, if I'm not mistaken, with your storage and power down below. Then you have your components up top.
Yeah.
I've reviewed a couple cases with those separate containment areas. I really like them. You have good thermal control a lot of times, just some good cable routing, usually plenty of room as well, which is always an advantage.
Great ventilation from both the top. You can mount a fan to the top. Air can come in from the sides. Front, you can get the 2 fans up front. Just a lot of different options.
Yep.
Mike, do you have a favorite case?
No, like I was saying, I haven't really built a PC with like a really nice case either. I've had my mining rigs or my servers. I use a Rosewill, just cheap server chassis for Unraid. Everything else, I'm on the iMac right now or a laptop, so I've never really had that need. I've been wanting to do a really nice build though, hopefully sometime soon, and I'm trying to find a case like that. I like, maybe something just a little bit bigger, but that same kind of style. I really like the style of that. I kind of like the darker tempered glass, mainly because I know I'm terrible with making the inside look really good. But, maybe if I could make it look nice and have LEDs, maybe some with a little bit lighter glass on it. Who knows?
Yeah.
Ryan, are you a patient guy with the cabling? I think cabling takes a lot of patience to get it right, to get it hidden, to get it bundled. You more patient or less patient? I'm not very patient at all.
I'm pretty patient with it. I do like it to look pretty clean. The nice thing, with all these components, you have your custom cable guys that will make power cabling and SATA cabling in the colors that you want. So they'll have braided lines for every single power connection for your video card or your motherboard power. So you can have them create your color scheme that matches your design, your build, and they're easy to route and they're flexible, more maneuverable than standard cabling. So those are always nice. They add a little bit of a premium, but you can really look like you've got your stuff together and have a nice, clean, cohesive build with those kits.
So I'm building a custom kit, and all I want to do is replace the cables that came with my power supply. What's it going to run me to maybe just get custom cable? I'm assuming I send them lengths and colors and some of those kinds of things. It takes a ton of planning, doesn't it?
It does. When you get to those custom lengths, like you can buy a kit from any of the manufacturers, really. So Silverstone, for example, I've bought nylon braided kits for theirs, and they say, hey, this is compatible with this power supply, and you can pick up a $20 for a certain cable. So you could spend anywhere from $20 for a single power cable to hundreds of dollars, depending on the types of materials you want them to use, how long, if they're doing custom lengths and bends and all that kind of stuff. So it'll as much as you want to spend.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of the days when guys would, refit or redo hot rods, and they would then get custom, you would get everything, all the wires, the cables, the tubes coming in, the mufflers would all be custom built and made to kind of go with it all. And it looks beautiful, but it's super expensive, right? And hey, if you want it to look great, and I think there are people, my number 2 son is one of these cabling gurus, and that kid can cable anything and it looks gorgeous when it's done. Like it's neat and orderly. I mean, it's not good enough that the cables, say you're taking 5 cables and you're routing them up the side of something and you're zip tying them, as you kind of go. It's not enough that the cables are just together and they're zip tied. It is literally everyone is straight and they're all in the same spot in the order. There's no twist in them. They're all perfectly straight. The zip ties are all the right length, cut exactly off at the end. They're all spaced like, at perfect intervals in there. He just has the patience. Mike, no patience for that when you're doing your stuff?
I start out with the best intentions. Even on things like under my desk, right? Like when I'm plugging everything in, I start and I route it, and then I just get to the end, I'm like, no one's going to see this. And I just start plugging everything in. Just, does it work? Yeah, okay, cool.
Well, it's kind of like the cable. So in the desk here, right on the other side of the desk for me is a 3-layer, one of those metal shelved units that's got wood. You get it at Walmart or whatever. It's pretty inexpensive. And it works great for kind of a cabinet to store stuff on. It's open. You can reset the levels however you want them. It's efficient, whatever. And every time I set one of these up, like, okay, I'm going to do some cable management early and I'm going to, do all this stuff. And then I change so many things over the course of time. And I look at it now and it's just a mess. like, oh my God, this is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. I can't seem to keep up with it,
That's tough.
Yeah. Ryan, are you a cable manager? Like, okay, so there's cable management inside your PC. Mm-hmm. What about outside? Are you kind of a stickler on everything's got its place and I'm going to route it this way and it's going to stay that way?
Yeah. Under desk, I use wired components. So I have a wired keyboard and mouse. So I can't really do anything about those. I have a Stream Deck up here, so it's wired. I've got the microphone right here. So there's some things that I just can't control, but those that I can, I try and at least, hide them, bundle them underneath the desk, keep them out of the way as much as I can.
Yeah, I think my cables are having children underneath there. Mike, cable guy, the cables you do, neat, orderly, or out of control?
It depends on where I'm at. So like behind my desk, I have the same thing. There's just so many back there. And then we're in the basement where no one's here. If it's in a place where people are high traffic areas, yeah, I do take the time to do a pretty good job. Especially, like all my security cameras, they're up through the eaves. There's no wires coming down. I wire those up. All the Ethernets run really well. It depends. It depends on where we're at. I can have the patience if I know people are going to see it. I start to lose that patience if it's just me down here.
I think I have the best of intentions too. And then you get halfway in, you're like, I just want to finish.
Yeah. Well, I did the same thing as you. My server rack, when I first installed everything, was just gorgeous. Zip tied, all straight down one side, power on one, data on the other. Like you, when you start moving stuff around, you just start moving stuff, and now it's a rat's nest of cables. I wouldn't even know what I was unplugging.
I know, and I even went as far as to take some blue tape and start labeling like ends of things. So I knew like network cables became a problem. Like, okay, where does this? By the time it makes it to the hub, where'd this thing come from?
Right. Right.
And,
totally.
So I had to kind of label the ends as well. Ryan, you don't just do cases. You recently reviewed a fanless mini desktop PC. We have seen those, we've had the guys from Kangaroo on. There's been kind of this, we've talked about the mini PC market. Is that something that's still going on at this point? I mean, people are still selling these small form factor PCs?
Yeah, absolutely. I recently, towards the beginning of September, took a look at that the Azul Byte 3. Like you said, it's a fanless mini desktop PC. It's pretty straightforward. Not anything that's high powered. There's a couple customization options that you have from Azul on their website. So some Apollo Lake processors, you can either get a dual core or a quad core system, just kind of depending on the price you want to spend on that. A couple memory configurations, anywhere from 2 gigs to 8 gigs. You've got a couple storage options. 32 gigs, 64 gigs. What comes with it is eMMC storage. So while it is flash, not the fastest flash, but for what this box does, it was fast enough for day-to-day use. But it also supports a 2.5-inch and M.2 SATA drive as well.
Yeah, kind of your pretty standard PC, I'm assuming, in the review. So you take it through, show the box, kind of get it set up, get it set up Wi-Fi on these.
It does. It has
Ethernet
Wi-Fi.
as well?
It's got gigabit Ethernet, USB 3. It's got a Type C port on there as well. Wireless. Let's see here. What was that there? Yeah, dual band, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz.
There's
that.
a good look at it right there. How big is that? That's not very big then, I'm assuming. The size of... Oh, hold on, he's got it right there.
Yeah, let's see here. I moved my tape measure. But what were the... Was it
just hold it back.
5.6 wide, 4 inches deep, and 1.5 inches thick.
Yeah.
So
how's it feel?
Really pretty small. It's actually pretty solid. It is plastic on most of the exterior. The bottom, though, has a metal plate here. But it is pretty solid. There's no flexing to the chassis or the outside of the case. So it's good build quality. I was really surprised, especially from a company that I honestly had not heard of prior to the review.
Where does it come in price-wise?
The model that I reviewed is the quad-core model with 4 gigs of RAM, I believe, and 32 gigs of storage. And it was $239.
$239. See, so this is kind of, you're in that area, Jim, we talked about last week, the Kangaroo PC, where you have that smaller form factor. But I think this one, for that same price point, makes a lot more sense. This is going to get all the tasks done that you probably need to do, right? If you give this to someone who doesn't do much editing, they just need to be able to, browse, maybe do a hangout or a video chat, but it's not gonna choke on what it's doing. But still kind of a nice little small form factor. Or even, what do you think about like a media room PC for a TV?
Definitely. It has the option for a VESA mount for it, so you can mount it to the back of a TV. It does support 4K video output as well. And in my testing, I tested content that's stored locally on the device with no issues and streamed from Plex, no issues. Looked great. I did see a comment in the chat from Andrew. He says, how many VHS cassettes is that? And we talked about like having retro things here. I do have a VHS cassette tape within reach. So size wise, one, and the thickness here.
A little bit thicker than... I can't believe you found a VHS.
Family Vacation, 1991.
That is so
digitized.
Great. That is so great. Yeah. So one VHS.
Yeah.
Cassette and NVMe, right, in that for storage.
M.2, but just SATA.
Just
no NVMe support.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Let's bring this back up. I am now stuck in a world where I don't know how to get everybody back. There we go. Yeah, I just kept clicking and nothing was happening there. From your review on this, runs Windows pretty well.
Yeah,
and
came with Windows 10 Pro. You also have the option for a flavor of Linux. Saves a little money on the cost there.
Pretty easy to get apart. We're kind of showing.
Absolutely.
Pull the
I think it was
off, right?
maybe 4 screws on the bottom to remove that metal plate there. That's where the 2.5-inch drive mounts. And then it comes bundled with the power and data connection for that drive.
Okay.
So super easy to get into.
Kind of a media remote, much like you'd see in a...
It comes with a really basic remote that kind of gives some basic navigation. It's infrared, so there's a little infrared sensor on the front of the case as well. So you've got some line of sight types of items, but they did send over their Link remote, which is further on in the review that I really liked.
Yeah, let's skip ahead. That looks a lot like a standard remote you'd get with an NVIDIA Shield or something like that as well. You run some tests on it. Not as important. Oh, wait a minute, Passmark ranking. So 995.2.
Yep. And really, for these benchmarks, we knew that it wasn't going to break the charts, anything crazy, but at least give the numbers there. Cinebench R20 is kind of funny, 343 points, but when you compare it to other things that are in the thousands and tens of thousands, I'm trying to remember how long it took to run to get that score. But
I haven't heard of Cinebench before. Is that a paid review platform?
No, you can get Cinebench R20. It used to be R15 was the popular one. It's just it renders a 3D scene, and it runs it off of the CPU there. So your multi-core types of things will run it much faster there. Or you can configure it to run off of a single CPU core if it boosts to a higher speed and you want to see what that performance is there.
And it will do 4K, but
4K 60.
Pretty low score if you're gonna try and use this for gaming, right?
You're maybe some flash gaming, but you're not going to be playing anything like Fortnite on this.
Yeah, so some crystal disk benchmarks on there. Okay. So here's the remote, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the remote.
Yeah, that's the additional one that they sent.
And how much extra for this remote?
I believe it's $30.
That's not bad.
No, it's really not, and it's multifunction. So right there, that image is kind of what I consider the top of the remote with some basic navigation. It's got a left and right mouse click. It has a microphone built in, so you've got a microphone button. You can bring up an on-screen keyboard. It's got a Windows key. Turn the system on and off, and then if you flip it over, you end up with there we go. Essentially a QWERTY keyboard on the backside.
I've seen one
so you can. Yeah, it also is a gyroscopic mouse. So it kind of acts like a Wiimote, if you will, to kind of aim where you want on the screen and navigate around, which was actually really handy. I believe it's Bluetooth, has its own adapter. It has infrared, and it's also smart enough to know when you press the lighting button on the side of the remote, which side of the remote is facing up, and only illuminates that side.
Wow. For $30?
$30.
I was just gonna say for $30, that's surprising. I wish every single remote had a keyboard on the back.
Mm-hmm.
I think that should be standard because voice everyone went voice, and that's okay. But I would much rather just type it in real quick on a keyboard. And voice doesn't work in certain apps. You never know when and where you can use it. You don't want like global voice. You just want to type it in a search bar. So yeah, I really for $30, that's a deal.
Well, is that a standard Bluetooth or whatever remote? Will that work with other things?
Yeah, I believe so. It has a dongle that comes with it, a USB dongle.
Here, we'll go back. Maybe that was.
That's okay.
I missed.
I don't remember if I included the specifications or not on there. And I could be wrong on Bluetooth, but I was pretty sure that it did.
Azul.
Yep.
Now I've never heard of them, but are they?
I think they seem to be based out of Florida, and I'm not sure the age of the company. But I was really impressed with things like packaging. Everybody's trying to be nice with their packaging. Maybe not so much on the remote, but the Byte 3 itself came in a nice box with a magnetically held lid. Just some of those things where maybe some companies spend more on the packaging than they do on their product, and it shows. It didn't feel like that with this. The remotes all felt solid. I'm sitting here squeezing the thing. It doesn't squeak. It doesn't feel like it's going to break in my hand. The rubber buttons feel nice. Same thing with the mini PC.
Oh, I just realized I can isolate
that is cool.
Just the picture. I did not know you could do that. Learning more and more about StreamYard as we go along here. Earlier in the broadcast, I was saying I could make myself disappear, and then they were like, "Hey, we can't hear you. We can't hear you when you disappear." Let me stop sharing that. We'll go. Show that the remote one more time.
Yeah,
hold that.
So right here, and then it has the light button on the side, and then the keyboard here.
Windows drivers then.
Yep.
Not a little bit. I've been listening to Richard and Josh over at Entertainment 2.0, and apparently in their listening audience, there is still tons in their audience of Windows Media Center, and folks using PCs as their media center kind of at the center of their media center.
Yep.
Whether that's using Plex or whatever, boy, a remote like that could be, we used Harmony. There was like the Harmony remote and some of those other ones that were pretty expensive. This seems like kind of a nice little in between. It's not your, it's not your crappy little, like the thing that comes with the NVIDIA Shield.
Yep.
Pretty Spartan, right? Pretty sparse. That not all the functionality. You can't program it, but all kind of the right stuff. Mike, how many of those times you've been trying to log into something?
That's the worst.
And you're like, oh, click, 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 click.
That's what I mean. That's why I wish everyone had a keyboard on the back. I love that idea.
Yeah.
I had one. I used to have an Xbox remote that had a keyboard, and I loved it. And it broke. And the new one, I have a nice remote. It's nice and big. At least doesn't get lost in the couch, but no keyboard.
I'm just surprised, Ryan. I mean, there's somebody still making this, and it's this cheap. So
yeah, it made me want to actually hook it up to the family room PC now that I'm done with the review. Because I'm like, well, I haven't had a PC out there forever, but
you get this on
Amazon. Might as well now.
Yeah. Can you buy this? Let's see,
AZULLE.
And oh yeah, there you go. And at $269 for these are the PCs. I'm seeing the PCs that are out there. I probably need to put remote. We'll do remotes in there. Yeah, $35.29. You can get it. Wow, Dell sells a version of it too. No, that's the Dell projector remote. That's not it. Okay, yeah, sweet. That's super cool. That may be one to take a look at if you're still in that media center space and you don't want to shell out the $100 for some of the more expensive remotes. This kind of might be in between.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Let's do one more
sure.
Before you. I think we're going to get back. We're going to get back to cases. You got the InWin 905.
Yeah, this one's hot off the press. Just published today. So
and
exclusive.
So, you ever get sick of just doing cases?
Yeah, sometimes they take up a lot. Exclusive, live exclusive here. Every now and then, they take up a lot of room. That's one thing. So the boxes for them take up room, and you've got the case out, and so you got double the space. And so every now and then, but this one I was definitely not unexcited. I was actually pretty ecstatic to take a look at this InWin 905. We first saw it at CES 2019 in January. We did a quick video and preview of it, knowing that it was coming out later in the year. Finally got our hands on it, and I was lucky enough to take a look at it.
Yeah. Why? What made you so interested in it?
So, we kind of talked about what makes a case expensive or, maybe better than the others. This is the case that I mentioned previously that has the 4mm thick aluminum shell exterior. So as you can see there in that image, it is a single piece of 4mm aluminum that wraps all the way from the rear of the case, beneath it, up the front, over the top, and around the back. It's a kind of a hairline design, a pattern, texture to it. So you have really high-end material there. You've got your tempered glass side panels. InWin is known for making very high-quality cases and having a lot of innovation with them. Right there, you see the removable air filter up front. A lot of cases typically have intake at the front, on the facade there. This case has a solid aluminum panel. So they've designed an intake section below there. I call it a tunnel. So that provides passive intake for the interior of the case and the PSU area. There is the ability to add some fans in the lower section for some active cooling. And then on the second image there, on the right side of the case, you've got some ventilation for the front fans that are inside of the case, and they actually work as exhaust. So typically you're taking intake in from the front. In this design, your intake fans are on the bottom, and then you have a single exhaust at the rear and two at the front that push the air out and to the side, out those ventilation holes there.
No, it looks beautiful. These holes here?
Yes, correct.
You're showing? Yeah.
Yep.
And that's part of the design, right? I mean, it's exhaust, but it's kind of a pretty exhaust, right?
Yeah. They're artistic. They also every year at Computex release, I don't remember the name, the signature series that they do, but they have some pretty wild art looking cases. One year they did kind of a clear pod and some that move with hydraulics or pistons and things like that, and they're thousands of dollars and very limited run on those cases. But
we're showing the back of the computer. I'm assuming this is where components kind of go. Anything unique there?
You kind of have a case within a case on the 905. So you have that aluminum exterior. Right there, you can see the add-in slot covers to allow access. So they're kind of actually deep into the case a couple inches, which is a little unique because most of the time those are right up against the back of the case. In this example, though, they kind of hide behind there and just add for a more artistic and high-end look to the back.
How did it do on fingerprints with that aluminum shield that's on there? Like the Captain America shield that's on there. How did it do with fingerprints?
It does pick up some fingerprints, and it had some from the factory.
So, who built your PC, right?
Yeah.
Built your case.
We can lift prints. But it wiped down pretty nicely with a microfiber cloth there.
Then
moving on, to the interior. You've got a spacious interior. Most of the cases nowadays, one thing we haven't talked about is optical drives. Most cases now are not including optical drive trays or openings. So you have all that extra room towards the top right there to work inside the case. So that's nice. You've got your large motherboard cooler cutout, that kind of square rectangular shape towards the top left there. That allows you to gain access to the backside of your CPU cooler if you have the motherboard and everything installed. So if you want to change out coolers, you don't have to take everything out. You can usually just swap. Right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen.
So not even a place to put an optical drive if you wanted to?
Nope.
Wow. Okay.
Absolutely not. It's 2019, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, but Ryan, a lot of the listeners of this show would struggle a little bit with that. They'd be like, I probably
I keep an external optical in the drawer.
Yeah,
but
I guess I'm just thinking of for people who don't have the NAS, right? They have one computer. I'm thinking of like a kid with a non-techie family.
Yeah.
And he wants to have his SSD for his OS, and he wants to have like a spinner in there for data. It just surprised me that that's the trend. It doesn't surprise me, right? We're going all towards SATA or towards solid state. But wow. Okay, I didn't know they were already making that move. It's like removing the headphone jack, right?
Yeah, it's been there for quite a while. Yeah, there are absolutely no openings for optical drive here.
Thanks, Apple.
Yeah, right.
No, it's okay. Fans pretty good in this one. I'm assuming these come with the case.
Yeah, so this case comes with 3 of their Sirius Loop fans. They have a RGB LED ring around each side of them, which is nice. One kind of unique feature of those fans as well is on that center hub, there's some ventilation to bring some air into the fan hub and bearings to give it a little cooling for longer life as well. Rubber pads on the corners to reduce vibration from the spinning, things like that, that you'll find in higher end fans.
Yeah, I'm definitely starting to see as we've looked at these last few cases, just what makes a premium case a premium case, right?
Yep.
Because I've played with the $20, $30 ones, and they don't have these kind of features.
Right. Yeah, you'll find multiple drive mounting options there. So now I'm just kind of going through component installation. Plenty of room for a modular power supply is my go-to. There you've got the motherboard and cooler installed. Clearance was a little bit of a possibility of an issue. So one thing to keep in mind when building a PC is component size and compatibility. So right there, you can see that on the top image, the cooler height, scroll up just a little bit there, where the cooler would have been
this one, this spot here,
that one right there. Yep.
Yeah,
so you can see the top of the white top of the cooler is right along the edge of where glass is going to cover. So you've got some clearances there to watch out for.
To kind of deal with. It does not all components fit, right? This is one of those where you got to kind of make sure you're matching your component size.
Typically it's billed as a mid tower. It's not quite a full tower because you don't have as many expansion slots, but it is a pretty large mid tower case.
I see a lot of this too. We're on the back side. So you've got on the back side are the drives that are mounted there.
Yeah, so your 2.5 and 3.5 inch drives have mounting locations on the backside. Just cleans up the interior.
Do you not put a 3.5 inch drive, a spinner on here just for aesthetics,
Nope.
Or do you prefer? Would you prefer to have SSD for everything?
Yeah, I'm solid state on everything other than my NAS storage. But I wouldn't be opposed to it if I wasn't fortunate enough to have solid state storage.
Yeah. Yeah. No, a box I pulled apart just had an SSD in it, and actually I have an SSD just sitting at this point. Yeah.
Well, it used to be a rarity. I mean, I remember getting my
know.
first solid state drive, and now I'm like, oh, I got all these extras laying around.
Something will come along here that needs it. It's kind of nice tearing some equipment down of having a few extra parts. I had kind of pushed when I was going into the crypto space. I pushed everything out to something working because I wanted to get as many things working as possible. And now I'm kind of pulling things back in. It's kind of nice to have a few spare parts, kind of think, well, I got to spare this, I got to spare that. I did have a weak moment where I thought maybe I'll build a PF Sense router. And then about an hour later, I'm like, okay, I'm not going down that path. Like, I am good. I don't need another thing to do. So,
well, you do, but I mean, yeah.
And then of course, so I'm assuming this is the finished build.
It is, and I actually went ahead and purchased some additional, 3 additional in-wind Sirius loop fans to put in the bottom section. So instead of just using the passive air intake, I outfitted that with the 3 fans to pull some extra air in, and they pull it in right from that front tunnel opening,
right down here.
That angle and that flat part there. And it's a pretty wide case, so there's quite a bit of air pulling in. One thing I didn't note, at the front of the case, there's that little light strip towards the front that you can't really see on these images. If you go to that one right there, there's kind of a little, that has addressable RGBs as well. So you can set that to be whatever color you'd like, have it run through a pattern. That image there shows the fans running kind of a rainbow pattern. It'll mimic that pattern on the front. Or if you have a motherboard where you can customize those things, it's works with compatible motherboards as well.
Yeah, super cool. Did you find, okay, so this really looks best in a dark room, right? Lights are on. You don't see these lights as much, do you?
I do. Right now, I have it. It's sitting right next to me. That's what I'm running right now. I have it set. The fans are all white, so just a white ring, kind of like that image right there. And all those last couple images are just the fans on with white. And then I did add 2 light strips as well, because again, the tempered glass side panel is tinted, so you're kind of losing those components in the dark with that. So I just added a little additional lighting in there to spruce things up.
You posted this article 11 hours ago. Nicely
today.
Done. Nice. Gave it a 9 out of 10. Not even this case gets a 10 out of 10, Ryan. What's up with that?
So I didn't like the fact that there were no cable management grommets in the motherboard tray. There's openings to allow for cabling to run to the back side and to route your cabling. But a lot of times case manufacturers will include a rubber grommet there to kind of fill in those gaps, right? Looks a little cleaner. Or a panel that goes over some of those that can be removed when you're doing the build, but then you attach it back and cover that up. So a little, when this is going to be a high-end case, it's a $300 case, you're going to typically do a pretty high-end build in there. As clean as you can get it is the preference. Without that, you've got to do a little extra work to make things as clean as possible. And then it's got the premium price, so
which is $300.
Yep.
Yeah. Mike, would you spend $300 on a case?
No. No, I don't think so.
Yeah. I think do you get, like, Ryan, when you think about the PC enthusiast who's going to drop $300 on a case, what's that persona? Like, who is that? Who's doing that these days? What kind of feedback do you get?
When you're building a system that's going to be upwards of $2,000 to $5,000 depending on components, you're spending $300 on a case like this. The working professional, that has the income to support that type of a build, you can get a pretty decent case for $60. I've reviewed some really nice cases from other vendors, $60, and they will house your components just the same as this case will. And your computer's going to turn on and function, and they may come with a couple case fans as well. It's just kind of the design and the trends and some of the features that you'll find on this that you won't on others. But yeah, it's kind of your disposable income type of person that is going to want to.
Oh yeah, or you're enthusiast, right? Like when I say I don't want to spend $300, it's just because that's I haven't I'm not a PC builder,
Yeah.
right? But if this is your thing, and those guys are going to notice the differences, right? Where you spend your money in there. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Well, super cool. No, it looks good. This not particularly my bread and butter either. I don't do enough work or care enough at times to take advantage of all the features. I just wouldn't. Those kinds of things aren't super important to me, and so I'm like like I showed the one earlier. Sorry. I'm more kind of functional, in fact, I kind of want everything hidden because I'm going to kind of mess up the inside, most likely. Like I don't want that out. But you got it in front of you. Is that something you kind of get to hold on to, and will you have that on your desk for a while?
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing a full custom hard tubing liquid cooling build, and I would definitely put it in this case. But that means I'm probably going to spend a decent chunk of money on just a brand new system. So I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be around here for a while, though.
Yeah,
that's one project I've always wanted to tackle is water cooling.
Yeah,
I've never done it, and it's hard, right? And then swapping out components, but it's just the performance. It looks amazing. I've always wanted to do a water cooled.
Yeah, you can do your all-in-one coolers that you just pull out of the box, and they're already wired together, tubed up. $100, $120, $150 from Corsair, Cooler Master, something like that to get your. I say get your toes wet. You don't want to get them wet. We want the liquid in the system, but at least get see what it's like. And then soft tubing is kind of the recommendation next, where you don't have to use heat to bend that tubing to get your perfect bends, or spend less money on fittings to make bends that you like and everything. But I'm super excited to do a really nice build in this case.
Cool.
Yeah,
Ryan, thanks for saying yes and coming on. And
absolutely,
that's an hour and 20 minutes.
I'm sorry.
No.
I love it though.
Don't apologize. This is we're always this long.
Yeah.
And no matter it's funny is no matter how hard I try, they're all an hour 20 minutes. It always just works out that way. But could certainly sense the passion in that, and great to have you on. We ought to as you get various projects like this, you ought to just ping me and say, hey,
sure,
we got a few things to talk about. This makes it easy. We're trying to, and maybe it's just lazy podcasting, but I'm trying to get more regular where the guests are bringing some stuff back like this. Pretty nice walkthrough on these pieces. Again, if you're listening to the audio and you're driving, I'm glad we kept you busy, but I hope maybe they could imagine this in their mind. I don't know.
There's a lot of pictures.
We hope. Mike, any final questions?
No, I wanted to bring stuff like this too, because I love the hardware side. I love seeing, cases, fans, all that stuff, peripherals. Now, do you cover like keyboards, mice, those sort of things as well? Is that your genre?
Yeah. I have a stack of 4 mice off to the side in their boxes that are reviewed and just back in storage. Keyboards, mice, headsets. I actually have 2 microphones that are next up, right? So I have a microphone from Samson coming up, and one from, I don't remember the other company, but it looks pretty cool. This microphone and arm and XLR to USB adapter was a review that I recently did. I took a look at, all sorts of components. So
we'll have to head out to the website and check that out.
Absolutely.
And your reviews on all the other equipment that we didn't get time to talk about tonight, but maybe next time we can start to cover some of those.
Hold some of that, and we can maybe we do this in kind of logical units, where we look at some things. Think about that, Ryan. And if you've got some things you want to throw together, we'll get you on the schedule, bring you back in and talk about it as well. But thanks for taking the time to do that, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
A couple things we'll remind folks on the way out. And can you stay around for a little bit of post show?
Sure, absolutely.
That'd be cool. All right. So a couple things to remind folks. One, thanks for all your Patreon, those who support us on Patreon. You can still do that anytime. I have $1 and $5 plans that are out there. If you want to help us out and do that on Patreon, you can head out to theaverageguy.tv/Patreon, and we appreciate those who do that. Or apparently you can still do it on PayPal. If you want to do it that way, you don't want to mess with Patreon, that's fine. Richard, thanks for your gift that way as well. You can just use jim@theaverageguy.tv, and you can do a donation, I think is what they call that, out there. Join us in the Discord group. Mike Bruce just told me via our Discord group, I want to bring it up because I want to read this correctly. He said, I started HelloFresh in the UK.
All right.
Boom.
Nice.
Nice job, Bruce. Said Jim got me curious. If any K members are in the Discord group and have some free boxes, I can send them codes, or they want free boxes, I can send them codes. Bruce is now pimping it like I used to.
There you
Good
go.
job, Bruce. Message me with your email and we'll get it to him. So if you're in the UK and you want to try that out, we were in the pre-show, we were talking a little bit about, in fact, when Ryan joined us, I said, how's it going? He said, well, I just got through a HelloFresh meal. So it's like, yes, Mike, HelloFresh still working for you?
It is. I skipped this week, so I'm doing like every other week.
Yeah.
So we did last week. Loved every meal there. It's still going strong. Yeah, so we're doing about every other week.
Yeah, super cool. I should just get them as a sponsor. You know,
You
That
really
would-
should.
I really should. I really should just get them. You can contact us on the show if you got suggestions. Maybe you saw some things you want Ryan to cover from his site. Let us know. Jim at theaverageguy.tv. We'll get him back on to do that as well. At Jay Collison on Twitter. Mike is at Uyghur Tech. Ryan, how do they track you down on Twitter?
At Ryan Kirshner, KERSCHNER.
Super cool. And don't forget that theaverageguy.tv, both media and web hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners, get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. And you know that's Christian. And so they have plans that start as little as $10 a month to get anything basic. I mean, Christians can just do anything. So maplegrovepartners.com, and don't forget to download the app. HomeGadgetGeeks.com as well is the way to get that done. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. I think I mentioned this, Mike. You're off next week, right? Is that right?
I am. Yeah.
So I still need to secure something for next week. But we've got 3 guests in a row, like Ryan, that we haven't had on before. Although I think Ryan, you're going to become a regular staple here. I'm gonna predict
Pressure's on,
that.
Ryan.
Yeah, I'm going to predict that. Ed Sullivan's coming on. Ed, of course, shipped us some cigars that we still need to. Mike, you and I need to consume those cigars at some point. And then Frank from Nextcloud, one of the founders, and maybe his co-founder Josh is coming with him in 3 weeks. So 3 guests over the next 4 weeks, and we'd love to have you come back and listen live. And we want to thank those who did listen live: Andrew, Joe, Ken, Tony, and Ron. We appreciate you guys coming out as well. Thanks for coming out tonight. With that, we'll say goodnight, everybody. Ryan, great job, man.
Thanks.
That was cool.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah,
That
you just
was-
like threw me under the. Oh, you're gonna be on. It's all good.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
right. I really
That's
didn't want
what-
to. I didn't like it. You
This
guys-
hour was like dragged on all night.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
No,
not
no,
Ryan
look-
back again.
I looked at the
Ah.
timer and I was like, oh, he's gonna cut me off.
No, never feel that way. I don't. We never cut anybody off. I'd seen your note and I was like, well, we're just getting started, dude. You know, you're like, hey, I really want to get to that one on the end. I'm like, oh, we're gonna get to it.
No,
Trust
I
me.
just had looked at the time and was like, oh, well, if I got
Yeah.
to choose between the mini PC and that, I'd rather
Yeah.
do the case. But
No,
all
I
good.
think that was fun to go case PC
Yep.
case. I think
Yep.
that was a nice split as we think about, some future subjects. That might be a great way to split them up, of 2 of one thing and 1 another, and kind of sandwich them in between or something like that. Have you done gaming headsets?
yeah,
That might be an
so
interesting one to talk
not what I
about as
have on
well.
here.
Yeah.
and they're put away, but some HyperX. Who else? Cougar. I think those are the ones I've taken a
Yeah,
look at
just
recently.
fun to,
How does
you
that
know-
one sound audio wise?
I love it. I used to have the Void Surround. If I can,
Those
I have the
those
wired
wireless?
one. So I
Yeah.
have the wireless version, or the wired version from Corsair. Loved it, and was tired of being attached to the cable. So I went with the Void Pro wireless, and I love them. They're like $75 from Corsair. They sound great. They're comfortable. Good battery life. The microphone sounds all right, but it's nothing,
You should switch your audio over real quick and give us a little test of how it sounds. Sorry, I'm making things difficult. I just want to hear. I'm always
No.
interested in the mic on those PC
I like it.
headsets. How they sound.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not as deep, not as rich. A little,
Oh yeah.
right? There is a definite difference between the two.
Tolerable even in this type
Sure.
of setup. Very tolerable. It wouldn't be my choice every week.
But you're right.
Right.
Yeah, the low end's not there. It sounds like a conference call. right? Like that's
Right.
to me the sound of a typical.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, once you
Yeah.
switch over, it's like
Well, there's some
It's
noise
night and
canceling
day.
going on it too, and so you get this clippy, both beginning and end. You get this kind
is
of.
that what
clippy
you're using?
sound.
That microphone you just put up?
So
Hi.
that's the HyperX Quadcast. I reviewed it. It's kind of cool because it has a mute on the top, touch to mute, and touch to go active.
Oh,
And then let's see here.
so for a streamer, that's probably super
Yeah,
convenient.
it's pretty cool. It has like a volume dial on the bottom here, so you can set your volume. Integrated
Oh, wow.
shock mount with it.
Wow.
How much does that thing run?
Oh man, you got to ask me all the tough questions.
How's the sound though? 'Cause I know
It sounds pretty good. It's
you're not using
not
it,
quite as
maybe
good as
not-
this microphone, but it is a nice improvement.
And what are you talking to us on? You might have already said it. I
This
forgot.
is an MXL BCD1. MXL is kind of a. They make a lot of products. They're not a. They're not a Shure. They're not an audio.
Technica.
Audio Technica, right? But I've been really impressed with this microphone. I've reviewed 3-4 microphones recently, and this is the best sounding one so far out of them.
Okay.
I've been really impressed.
It looks like that
with this
other one's got a
podcasting
lot
kit.
of maybe shimmer, but maybe the sounds. You know, if you said the sound's not as good, but the feature set on that other microphone looks really
super easy to use, and it has 4 polar patterns. So it's got like 360 cardioid,
kind of like a Blue Yeti.
stereo, right. So
Yeah.
it's very versatile. And then like I mentioned, I've got the Samson G Track Pro to be reviewed, and then this Thrawn Max Imdrill one as well.
That looks like a Yeti.
I was gonna say it looks just like a Yeti.
It does. It
Looks like
this is a whole kit here. So
that thing right there.
Yeah. Well, look at Ryan. If you as we get towards the end of October or early
Okay.
November, if you got a couple things that I want to get your kind of favorites. Like I don't want to dictate like things that you think are fun to talk about, because
Okay.
I think it's more fun to talk about those things, and then we can talk around them as well, which is kind of fun. It doesn't just have to be I want people to go see the review, and it doesn't need to necessarily be a regurgitation of the review, but just I'm always kind of interested in talking around them as well.
absolutely.
What does that mean? I almost bought a gaming headset when I was doing the Xbox, and then I just stopped playing the Xbox. I was kind of like, well,
I did the same thing.
kind of glad I didn't do it,
I've gotten back into it. I joined this
no.
well,
Here we go.
no, I'm not.
He's all in.
I'm not. I'm all. No, I'm all in. But if you guys need to follow the dad on Instagram. If you don't, it's my favorite account. It's just a bunch of dads. It's like hilarious dad memes, and they have a gaming Facebook group of dads who game. So it's all guys who don't have time, right? We all don't have time to game as much as we like to, but they get on there and they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna play some of this," and they all kind of just jump on or whatever. They have a Fortnite tournament coming up where you're not allowed to build because all those old guys don't know how to build very well.
Yeah.
So it's just Fortnite with no building. So I found this group, and then they all started listing off these games that are like free on Game Pass. And so the other night, I started playing some games again. I don't know. We'll see. It's just I go in waves. I go in waves of this stuff.
Well, and I
And
even
Hannah's
went.
teaching now, so at night she's prepping for her classes, and so I all of a sudden have a lot of time where we're not watching our shows together.
Right.
But she's sitting on the couch with her laptop. She wants me to do like a round. I'm like, well, I'll sit here and I'll play a game, and that's when the headset comes in handy because we're in that living room with the kids' room right off it. That wireless headset makes a big difference.
So I set up the Xbox so it's just above me now, and then it comes down. The wires are all cable nice, and it goes into to a bigger screen that I have down here, and it's tilted down. Got a place I can put my feet up. It's all wired so I can go through the Bose Quiet Comfort 35s. Sounds great. It's super comfortable. As soon as I got all that set up, I stopped. I just stopped gaming. I was just like, okay, I'm a setup guy. It's just kind of what I've kind of resigned to. I really like the setup. And then after that, it's like, could I just give it away to somebody? Like now that I got it set up, I just love setting up equipment, and then I don't care. After that, some nights I'll tear things down just so I can reset them back up again. And you're like, well, I'm just gonna break this so I can set it up and do it all over again.
That was my exact worry with getting into ham radios, because mainly for me, like the install in the car and getting it to look really nice and the
yeah.
antenna. That was like, I was really worried it was going to be all the fun. And luckily, the hobby's a lot of fun without it. But I'm the same way, Jim. I think you and I are both that way. The setup is 90% of the fun.
Yeah, it's way more fun. Yeah, so I got all the cigar stuff set up, and then I don't think I've like all the humidor the way I want it. The the digital. I got the digital hygrometer in there, and I'm tracking and checking. And after about the third day of tracking it, I'm like, okay, this is kind of boring now, and it just, you're like, so it is one of those things. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. You just kind of start like, think, I don't know. I think I'm over it already. I didn't show this on the show. I probably should have. Maybe I'll talk about it next week when you're gone. I did buy this mic, this off-brand. Here, let me switch over so folks can see this. I bought this off-brand. It takes a 5 1/4 inch 2-bay and turns it into a 3, where you can put 3 drives in it. And Icy Dock makes these, and I always usually buy the Icy Docks, and they're $75, $80, maybe 90 to do that, to buy a converter for it. And I thought, I wonder what a cheap off-brand, Chinese one would be like. And so this one I think is called Armor. Like that's the brand name on it. $30. And it's got a fan up front, which is kind of cool. There's a panel on the front of this that you just pull down, and the filter is there, and then the fan is right there, so easy to clean. And so I put the drives in, installed it last night. It's got a Molex connector, and that box doesn't have Molex, so I had to order a SATA power to Molex connector to kind of pass through to kind of make it work for me. So it's not cooling it, but it already cooled the drives down a little bit just being separated up there in the case. So they came down a couple degrees. And it was just a fun setup. Like it was, bring it home, move the hard drives around, start troubleshooting problems or figuring out, all right, I got to reroute the power now on this thing. How am I going to do that? And
is this in your burst box? You're doing
it's in the minor. It's in the main minor box. Yeah, in the main minor box. And it reminded me, I'm out of ports in there. If I want to do anything more, if I want to put any more drives in there, I'm going to have to put a SATA card to run some more drives. And then I started thinking, well, maybe I'll order it. And I'm like, no, stop. You don't need to do it. Just stop. Even though there's space, you don't need to do it. I have run out of power connectors on that power supply, so I'd have to buy some extenders or something on that. But it's kind of fun. Yeah, just brought it home. It was a little 2-hour project, not even that, an hour project before I took my wife out to dinner, and kind of fun. So could it? I don't know. I'm going to let it run for here a little bit. I've been monitoring the temperatures. Can you do something cheaper than Icy Dock for this? Yeah. Does it look as nice? Yeah. Actually, this looks pretty good. Set up on there. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah, it's kind of fun. Kind of fun on that. If you're listening live, thanks for coming out tonight. I think we'll end it. And thank you guys for being out here tonight. You guys too. You too. Hang tight for me 1 second. And we'll see you guys back next week. See ya.